How about them Cowboys? Woo! Oh, it's always a good day when the sun is shining. You got someone to wake up to, and the Dallas Cowboys get their asses whooped. Not beat, whooped. As last night, the Dallas Cowboys gave up about 500 yards of offense to the Detroit Lions. Dak Prescott throwing picks in the end zone, throwing for a little over 50%, and basically losing almost every single battle on the line of scrimmage as they get absolutely annihilated. 47-9. Now, let me give this up first. They are playing, and they played a very good Detroit Lion team. Like a Detroit Lion team that some people are picking to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Notwithstanding their very best defensive player, maybe the best defensive player in the league right now, having his leg snapped like a twig last night. That was horrific.
Brutal.
I was so bad. Here's hoping he can make like an Alex Smith kind of recovery and,
yeah, for sure.
and come back from that. But even after the injury, I mean, they just got absolutely dominated. Now, the Cowboys right now are 3-3.
It feels worse than that, though.
Well, and here's why it feels worse than that. Who have they beaten? They've beaten the Pittsburgh Steelers, who I still maintain are a mirage. I do not believe the Steelers are as good as their record says they are. I think Justin Fields is playing pretty good, but I think that's a little bit of a smoke and mirror show. I don't think they're bad, just a little bit of smoke and mirror show. Who else did they beat? They beat the New York Giants, and they beat the Cleveland Browns. That's who they've beat. They lost. No, let me rephrase. They got their asses beat by a New Orleans Saints team that has now lost 4 in a row, and we now realize aren't even that good of a team. They got beat by the Ravens. No shame there. Yeah. No shame to losing to the Ravens. And then they lost to Detroit. Yeah. Again, no shame in losing to Detroit if you go out there and you acquit yourself well. But a fight. I'll give you an example. Washington Commanders lost this weekend to the Baltimore Ravens. But you know what? They came out looking good.
Mm-hmm.
They lost that game, and they came out looking good because there's a lot of people right now who believe the Baltimore Ravens are the best team in football, despite having 2 losses on their record. And I picked Baltimore to win the game, but I thought Baltimore was going to beat up Washington. That didn't happen. We're talking about a Dallas Cowboy team that against a bad New Orleans Saints team got it handed to them and then just got blown out of the building last night against the Detroit Lions. Dak Prescott continues to prove that, in my estimation, he is a good quarterback. Not a average, not a bad, a good quarterback. Just not an elite quarterback that can literally throw a team on his back like a Patrick Mahomes or a Lamar Jackson or a guys of those ilk and carry his team to unlikely victories. He's certainly not worth being the highest paid quarterback in the business, which starts with our big list of problems. Are the Dallas Cowboys really as bad as they looked last night? I will say this. They're not as bad as they looked last night, because frankly, they look like one of the worst teams in the league. But they are, I think, worse than you think. The numbers don't lie. The only time Dak is able to put up like some impressive numbers is when he's throwing for like 50 times a game. And you can get away with that here and there, but it's not a recipe for long-term success. Now, granted, they had some injury problems, especially on the defensive side of the ball, right? Micah Parsons was out. Eric Kendricks was out. Carson was out. Definitely, yes. But would that have changed 47 points to 27 points? No, because here's why. Dak Prescott's one of the problems. Not because he's not an elite level quarterback, but because they have so much of the franchise's money tied up in the richest contract in NFL history that they're left wanting in a lot of other areas. One of those areas, the front on both sides of the ball. Last night against Detroit, I often say this, the thing that will win you the football game is not your quarterback, not your wide receivers, not your running backs, or your linebackers, your edge rush. It's the line. 7 times out of 10, the team that wins the line will win the game. And on both sides of the ball, Detroit's offensive line had their way with Dallas's defensive line. Detroit's defensive line had their way with Dallas's offensive line. It got so bad that I remember I was watching one of the shows on ESPN, and Damian Woody, he said, Dallas Cowboys are soft. They're soft. And look, you don't like to throw that line out at a team, but when you look at what happened on that line, both sides, that's where the grit, the toughness, the pride, that's where all that comes in. And they just got beaten almost every single play. They just got beaten. And again, defense is massively wanting. Offensive is massively wanting. You know, Dak Prescott's got a little bit of Brett Favre in him. He likes to be the cowboy. He's a gunslinger. He'll shoot it around. And a lot of times when you shoot it around, it's going to get picked like in the end zone, stuff like that. This team is horrible. And then the problems consist all the way up to the top. You should not have your owner as your general manager. You can't have your owner as your general manager. I'm sorry. And yet, look, they're going to win some games. Okay. They are going to win some games, but listen to their upcoming schedule. Okay. Next up, they got the San Francisco 49ers, who look like they are turning it around. Then they've got a hot Kirk Cousins Atlanta Falcons. Then they're playing a winnable game, but can surprise you here and there, the Philadelphia Eagles. Then they're playing the Texans, and then they're playing the Washington Commanders. They could go 1-4 in this stretch.
Yeah, two of them are division rivals. So that's even worse if they lose those games.
They could go 1-4 in this next stretch, which would make them a 3-17 or 3-8. I mean, that's how it is. Now, then they got the New York Giants after that. The Bengals look like they could be. Remember last week, what did I say last week? Bengals are the best 1-4 team you've ever seen. I think they're starting to turn it around, but it's getting ugly, and that game was ugly, and I loved it. I was driving, Ann and I were driving to the LA Dodgers game last night. Ann was behind the wheel, and I'm sitting there watching the game on my tablet, laughing my ass off. When we got to the parking lot, Dodger Stadium, we just stayed in there as I just continued to laugh my ass off. Anyway, Ryan, you had a chance. You saw the game. Like, how bad are the Cowboys, or are they better than they're letting on right now?
I definitely think they're better than they're letting on. I think you hit it with the defense. Parsons is out, another pass rusher's out, starting linebacker, cornerback. They're ranked 30th in the league right now, their defense. So definitely they can't stop anybody. Offensively, pass offense, they're not bad, but Dak's throwing a lot of picks. So 8 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Like you say, just they threw him in the end zone. Like he's at the worst possible time they're getting these turnovers.
Yeah, I think he's got 6 interceptions.
So, okay, 6. It feels like 7. Anyway.
Feels like 10.
Yeah. But I think one of the biggest issues is their running game. They have none.
It doesn't exist.
They're ranked 31st. So if the defense knows they're not going to run it, then they can tag in on him and pass rush like the Lions did yesterday. So I don't think they're as bad as we think they are, but that was the worst home loss they've ever had since 1988. And I think with Jerry Jones, like you're saying, he can't run the team. He's 80-something years old.
He's 82 now.
They haven't been good since Aikman, really. So like they're that long now without any consistency in the playoffs. Probably need to change there, but he's the owner, so he's not going to kick himself out. So, but I don't think they're as bad as they are. I do think they have a bye week this week coming at the right time, so they can try to get healthy, game plan for the next games. But like you said, Niners, Falcons, Eagles, if they don't win all 3 of those, I don't see them making the playoffs probably.
Yeah, you know what? Listen, when you say they haven't been good in a long time, I can already hear somebody yelling, they've won 12 games 3 years in a row.
That's
Fair
great,
enough.
but that's not what you try to do.
Never when it counts.
Yeah.
That's the thing, right? Like, I would suggest to you that those 12-win seasons have been a little bit of a mirage. Like, I've heard a number of people talking about this week. It's like, look at the last couple of years. You had a Green Bay, in the NFC, you had a Green Bay Packers team that was no longer at the height of their power. You've had, I mean, like literally just a number. The Detroit is becoming what they are, but a couple of those years, they still weren't great. Like you had a Dallas Cowboy team winning the games they should win and then choking when it counts.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, they've had, you know what? They've had some 12-win seasons. Ask the Carolina Panthers if they would like a couple of 12-win seasons. Sure, they would. But, I mean, this is not a team that's built to have decent regular seasons with no postseason success.
No, it reminds me, honestly, of like the Colts in the early 2000s win 12, 13, 14 games, get to the playoffs, lose the first game. And then like they're great in the regular season, but they're not winning when it counts. So yeah, Dak puts up good numbers, but in the playoffs, they've won what, one playoff game, one or two total since he's been the quarterback.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's no continued success going further. So I don't root for them. I'm not like John. I don't laugh at their downfall, but I just know I haven't seen anything from them to show any change. Like they have good players. You're right. CeeDee Lamb is good. Dak's good. I really think they should have got Derrick Henry over the offseason instead of signing Ezekiel Elliott, but that kind of comes back to the money issue. You're saying like so much money is taken up with these other players. So yeah, we'll see. Next couple of games are going to be make or break for them, I think.
Yeah, and I just don't see. I cannot see them winning 2 of the next 5. I just don't see them winning 2 of the next 5. I mean, again, maybe they'll surprise us. Maybe they'll shock us. All that kind of stuff. I see somebody in the live chat saying, well, when's the last time the Niners have a Super Bowl? Okay, yeah, it's been a while since the Niners won a Super Bowl.
But they made it.
But they go deep.
Yeah.
They are legitimate contenders each year, and they go deep. They give their fans a reason to be proud. The Dallas Cowboys give their fans a reason to wear paper bags over their heads and just embarrass themselves week after week. So don't go trying to compare the Cowboys right now to the San Francisco 49ers, because that is not a good look. That's not a good comparison if you're a Cowboy fan. Anyway, with that down, guys, what do you think? I mean, maybe the ass kicking to a bad New Orleans Saints team was a mirage. Maybe that 47 point ass kicking to whatever is a kind of a mirage. Maybe they're better than we think. Maybe they just got to turn it around. I don't know. I think they're as bad as they look. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.